Hi there, it's Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder here with a bit of a rant video because this is kind of a response video of all the stuff, all of the shenanigans that has been going on about Flesh and Blood. We've heard Alpha Investments pipe in, we've heard Channel Fireball, Star City Games make some posts about the future of Flesh and Blood, and there's a lot of just, I don't know, a lot of excitement, a lot of static going around about the game and the future of the game. A lot of people thinking it's a dead game. And with the prices collapsing, I know that Alpha Investments particularly put out kind of a scathing video about Flesh and Blood and like how they're changing their policies with first edition. And I'm going to kind of give you my perspective from a store owner. And I know that he also went off on like Channel Fireball, having access to cheaper product. And I think it's the deals. We've seen Channel Fireball do this magic too in the past. Since they run events, they're allowed to get this special pricing for events. And then the product that they don't sell at events, they're allowed just to blow out on their site. And that did plague Magic for a while. We saw the same thing happen when Channel Fireball ran all the Grand Prix, that they'd have just access to incredibly cheap product and then be able to just undercut everyone else. And apparently that's what really happened with Flesh and Blood. In fact, Alpha Investments put out like a little facetious thing saying, why would you ever buy from your distributor? Why would you ever buy from your store when you just go to Channel Fireball and buy from them for cheaper? And that's true. Right now, or in the past, you've been able to get these drops from Channel Fireball for definitely cheaper than I could get them from the distributors. So there's only two distributors that actually carry Flesh and Blood right now. One of us is Southern Hobby, which I don't use, and the other one is PhD. And they have comparable prices to Channel Fireball, and oftentimes you can get free shipping from Channel Fireball. For me as a store, PhD doesn't offer that. PhD, you have to pay full shipping. So a lot of times as stores with the distributors, they're getting you somewhere. They're getting you through like a credit card processing fee. They're getting you the handling. There's one distributor I won't name that does all the above. You pay shipping, you pay handling, you pay a credit card processing fee. A lot of times you pay like fees. They tag one here, tag one there. And so there are some prices out the gates with it. And again, it just does make more sense. Just if you can grab it as a store, why not just undercut your distributor? So it's caused a lot of issues in just the supply chain with Flesh and Blood and just how the overall outlook of where people think the game is going. Now, where I think the game is going with Flesh and Blood is I think is actually quite strong. We'll have to wait and see. The one problem I do have about Flesh and Blood is it just doesn't have the complexity that Magic does as far as deck building. And I think that's a huge aspect to I'm not saying the game being able to yes, I would even say the game being able to the replayability of the game. So Flesh and Blood does take a lot of more time to master for sure. You have to learn all the cards and their uses, and I have talked about in the past though that Flesh and Blood, the difference between cards aren't as stark as Magic, where one card does X that's quite different than Y. Whereas I like to say in Flesh and Blood everything's a Doomblade, and everything is like comparing it to a Doomblade and a Terror. There'd be just these little subtle changes with cards, depends on which one gets put in the deck. And that's kind of fun with Flesh and Blood, is trying to figure out the meta and like, oh, actually this niche card could fit here rather than the more duh card that people should be playing here because it actually interacts with Prism or something like that. So it is fun with kind of metagaming there and theory crafting there, but it definitely doesn't have the complexity of deck building that Magic does. And how that affects prices though is you're going to see big swings in pricing because there will be more cards that go in specific decks in Flesh and Blood than there are even in Magic. So Magic does end up having these metas and tier 1 decks and things like that. They require 4 ofs of whatever. But with Flesh and Blood particularly, there will definitely be cards that will eke out slightly better than the other one, and then they'll be the go-to one to be put in all the decks. So, and then it just doesn't have the mix and match you do with Magic with the endless possibilities that you can run with combinations and whatnot. So that's what I think is going to affect the ability of Flesh and Blood to sell packs. Is this? It just doesn't have the amount of complexity that Magic does as far as deck building, as far as replayability and people grabbing a number of different cards to try to, hey, I need this for my Elementals deck, I need this for my Angels deck, I need this for this. Yeah, you can say that for all of the characters, but again, even within those 4 characters released per set, it's just gonna be less needed stuff for that deck. There will be that one card that just pushes, okay, it's gonna be better than this. So I don't know. That's kind of my feeling about Flesh and Blood. It does have strong numbers. Stores though at a local level, I was surprised because of how many people it seemed to have. The fan base of Flesh and Blood that do play it are really gung-ho about it. What it's really missing is the casual players. I actually went in Utah. I traveled up north to the Salt Lake area and the Provo area, and asked a bunch of stores that carried Flesh and Blood, and there wasn't many at all that carried it. So that was a bad sign with that too. Where the Salt Lake and the Provo area, they have a very, very big scene for board games, and I mean Utah culture in general just is a big gaming culture. It's a high-tech area. It's a highly educated. There's a lot of kids. I think we have the lowest population age per capita by far. So it definitely is the market for collectible card games, board games, and whatnot. So Flesh Blood is struggling here. Then that's kind of a bad outlook, I think, for the game as a whole, because it did hit pretty fast in Utah, and then it has kind of died off. So I think that also is reflecting the prices. But before I get into the box opening, which is what I thought everyone is here for, this is a new, what I talked about, this is a history pack. I think that people like Alpha Investments are more to blame for the downfall of Flesh and Blood than the Channel Fireballs even. And that's what happens when you try to push cram FOMO 25 years of Black Lotus appreciation and say that it's going to do the same thing with Flesh and Blood. And that's exactly what these people did, is they just hyped the game before it really even had legs. And we saw $5,000 cards. We saw first edition and even Unlimited. When Unlimited would run out, we'd see even boxes of like Crucible of War Unlimited go crazy when there was a little blip in the system because of people speculating. And I used to joke that there's way more packs of Flesh and Blood sealed than there was, unsealed. And the whole reason why Magic cards are expensive from that era, from the early era, is that the opposite occurred. Is people opened packs, they thought the game was kind of worthless, or it was kind of just like, oh, these are meant for playing, and there wasn't a lot of people that were, were chucking these in their closet. That's the exact opposite of Flesh and Blood. The FOMO was through the roof. The people thinking, I'm not going to miss out. I missed out on the Black Lotus when I was younger. I'm not going to do this Flesh and Blood. And what ended up happening is people speculators consuming the game, so there was no supply for the average player, and so that forced Flesh and Blood's hand to reprint and print, which is what they did with Welcome to Wraith. They printed wave after wave after wave because the demand was still there. Every time they do another print run, the Rudies would just hype it and say, no, this is the last one where you got to hurry and scoop this up. Unlimited doesn't mean unlimited. There'll still be this little wave, and it just caused a mess. Towards each set that was released, people had less faith in it and less faith in it and less faith in it. And one of the issues too that was going on with this first edition was that stores were not getting their or were not selling their first edition. Why would I run a pre-release event with my first edition boxes if I could sell them for $500? Why in the world would I try to sell it to my gamers that aren't willing to pay that price when there is some person, Big Bucks McGee on the internet that is going to pay $500 per box? Why in the world would I lose money? And, people, well, that's unethical as a store. Well, if I put them up for sale, then it's going to be the first person in my, you'll get that guy that will come in and demand that you sell them all the product you have. And you can do the limits per, person, but still, then they just have their mom come in and buy it. They find ways to eke through it. And stores just a lot of times are like, we'll just look out for ourselves rather than let a speculator buy it all. And so they'll just, sell it online on TCG or whatnot for some good profit. So anyway, this also responded, one of the responses with Legendary Studios when they said Unlimited really isn't unlimited, it is going to go out of print, is then they came out with these history packs, which I think even devalued the faith in the overall value of the game going forward even more, and has caused a crash in the market. So I have seen on my end, though, that sales for Uprising are still pretty good. Tales of Ari was okay, Everfest okay. But I think that maybe this reset will be pretty good for the game, because now that the demand will actually meet the supply, and they'll actually communicate properly rather than having these big ebb and flows of speculation versus, oh no, we have no faith in it, blah, 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 blah. And everyone can just calm down. The FOMO can go away. I've never liked this crap for collectible card games. I think we've seen a lot of other games go to living card games because of this very problem, as people hoard the product and it causes this Dutch tuliping going on, and then it's just bad for the overall game when people can't get the cards they want to play with because everyone's has them sealed. And there needs to be a little bit in a collectible card game. There needs to be a nice, just real demand for stuff in the here and now. Not in the the fortune, not your retirement down the road type stuff, and I think that Flesh and Blood might have the opportunity to get back to where it's going to see that sort of natural supply and demand, not this unnatural supply and demand. And one of the things also that was good for Flesh and Blood and bad is it was generally released during the pandemic when any collectibles, Digimon, all these things are dying, by the way. My Hero Academia, Final Fantasy, the card game, everything just went through the roof. Everything was just such a duh. Just buy. And it was a bubble. It was a bubble that had to be burst, especially when Magic started to take more of the lion's share again, where it started like, well, this isn't quite Magic. Let's just go back to Magic. Who cares about this MetaZoo stuff or this Final Fantasy stuff or all these other, one-hit wonders that come out? I think Flesh and Blood is still suffering for a little bit of that. Anyway, let's get the history pack. I'm going to open up this pretty quickly now because I need a drink of water because I'm rambling so much. And I'm just not used to doing ramble videos on YouTube. And I can't even open this thing. So, again, this is apparently all reprints. I don't think there's any non-reprints in here. And this actually came out quicker than I anticipated because I knew they were going to need to reprint cards. But going forward, there's not going to be any first edition or unlimited. It's just going to be set releases. And the theory of that is that people won't scoop it all up, and then it'll allow people to then, play it as intended. And then if cards need to be reprinted, they'll do it in these history packs. So these history packs actually have more. I don't think you can draft. You have 36 packs in these for these, and I don't think they're draftable because I don't think there's heroes in them. I think it's like Crucible of War or Everfest. It's just supposed to supplement your thing. So let's see. Okay, yeah, this is also a thing that I really disagree. So the whole theory with this one, which I think is just where the creator of Flesh and Blood did not want these cards to be like, they didn't want them to be collectible. He wanted these to be utility. So everything out of the history packs would just be utility. So one of his complaints about Magic was each set release they want to be more shiny, more, hey, this is actually better than the last one. And it forced people to buy because this is, the other stuff became outdated. Now, I'll kind of disagree with that. I think some of the cooler stuff with Magic is some of the older stuff still. I mean, can you really beat Expeditions from Zendikar? They haven't redone those type of stuff. I wouldn't say that we've got shinier, big. I mean, we had the full art and things like that, but I mean, there's still some older stuff too that even some promos from Grand Prix and stuff that I think are still more classy than that. But I think that doing these white border, it's going to lead to problems in tournament scene when shuffling. There's going to be a lot of weird cuts, and that's why they didn't like white border in Magic. It just caused a lot of problems. And B, why specifically make a product inferior? There has to be some incentive, especially for a reprint set. There has to be incentive to buy it. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy incentive. Yeah, you can still have those release stuff, and I just think the guy is just out of touch with reality of exactly how markets work, exactly how collectibles work, and if what ends up happening is if this is what's going to be with these history packs, and no one's really going to care about them. Not only are they going to be something that's not highly sought after, but they're going to devalue the cards to begin with that were reprinted with these, cheaper versions of them. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of this. There's no foils, nothing in that. There's just specifically utility in here, and it's salt in the wound. So for what's supposed to be a collectible card game, at this point, make it a living card game if you're worried about utility. Release a lot of event decks. Like that's what Pokemon does a lot of times. They have this tier 1 deck. They just release an event deck. Say, okay, yeah. I mean, that's what's the difference between Pokemon. I think Pokemon has it perfectly, actually. How they do that is where, they have the whole fan base behind it. People just, who cares if it's a bad Charizard? I'm still going to collect it. People got to catch them all. And I don't know. With Flesh and Blood, they gotta figure something besides this. This is ridiculous. In fact, it's such a downer. This is just such a thumbs down of a product to have these white borders. Why specifically make something ugly? I mean, why put pictures on it then? Just have it be nothing. If it's just supposed to be utility. All right. So first rare here is gonna be the Barraging Beatdown. And again, I don't know. Does this card need to be reprinted? Do they look for stuff that are and then an overpower? So it's got 2 rares in it. So it's got 2 slots, and these are all going to be common. And I think the price of these, so the price of my cost was 76, I think, somewhere around there. It's in the 70s for these history packs for. So you do get more boosters, so 12 more boosters than so they are cheaper per booster pack. Yeah, they would be. Then something else. I'm not going to open up an entire box of this because it's just a waste of time. We've always seen this, and I do need to fill my own I have a little dispenser that has these. But we'll open up some of these to see, kind of what they have. But yeah, this white, it's just going to lead to problems. I'm just not a fan. Not a fan at the direction. I don't know if this video ever gets back to the creator of Flesh and Blood, but this is just a bad look. A bad look for the game. Without foils, why not put a full art? Why not put anything that's collectible? Or, yeah, I get it. You want stores to have these, but guess what? I'm not going to buy these. I'm not going to buy these that have no value. Why would I? You can't draft them, can't do anything with them. What a stupid product. There's Bravo Showstopper as a common. And so we have the Plasma Purifier as the M and a Plasma Barrel Shot. These all go together. No, it was Bravo. Two mechanologist stuff. Yeah, I get a bunch of random reprints. I guess there could be value. I mean, it's Chronicles. This is just Chronicles. Can't they just learn? Like, they're repeating all the mistakes that Magic made. But yeah, my allocations were pretty low with this. I mean, I didn't put in for a whole lot of these to begin with because there just wasn't demand for them. But another Plasma Barrel Shot and a Plunder Run. I know Plunder Run. Did this just get banned, though? I think this just got banned. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Plunder Run got banned. So we have a reprinted ban card that they didn't get out in time. And wasn't this a common, too? I thought Plunder Run was a common. Do they upshift stuff? I don't know. Someone in the comment section tell me how wrong I am about this video. Flip through these suckers. And we have a Savage Feast and an Overpower. Yeah, I'm definitely not even gonna finish this booster box opening. And maybe this is what maybe Flesh and Blood got what they wanted. They didn't want this stuff. They wanted it to be played with. So, and obviously, you know, I'm just so salty right now. What a misstep. This is a misstep. This is a misstep. Another Plunder Run. So, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong if they're banned or not. I thought it was a card that did get banned because it was too good in the chain decks. I keep up with Flesh and Blood. I used to play it. Haven't played it mainly because I'm been super busy and I'm, you know, stretched thin with hobbies. Play a lot of board games, play a lot of Magic. There's a lot of time for other stuff. But I will play a game of Flesh and Blood if I ever get the scene here again. We're quite small here in Richfield, Utah, though, to really have a scene. We were running event deck or Tuesday, what do they call it? Where the armor events, and we used to have a decent amount. But a lot of them moved to Warhammer. A couple other ones quit the game completely. We play every now and again, but yeah, it's just. You know the biggest problem too, going back to the speculators, I'd have people calling, like Zach and I would get so sick of another Plunder Run. It's just gonna be Plunder Runs galore here. Zach and I would get so sick of people calling and trying to be like, "Do you got Flesh and Blood?" And we'd get calls all the way from like Rexburg, Idaho. Be like, hey, I'll drive down and get these if you can guarantee. And one time too, it's like why we quit. We started doing pre-releases for local onlys. It's had a bunch of people sign up, and I'm like, cool. If other people from other places come down and play, that's cool. And they came down. So a guy came down and he signed up all these people. Like gave me names and everything for these people. And they came down. I was like, oh, I'm just here to pick up all the packs. We're not going to play here. And like last time I do this, so we've done it. We basically do it to locals only, and it, you know. Run a bunch of events and whatever I have left over, just, you know, sell it. So I'm not going to deal with that with someone who's going and flipping it on eBay the next day, which is what they were doing with the you know, it was worth a drive down if you can turn it $100 into $400. All right, Aether Spindle and Irina's Prayer. To be honest, I actually kind of like white cards. They actually look pretty good on these things. I think it actually works with the artwork a little bit better than black. I don't know, I kind of like it. So maybe it has that sort of. I know the vast majority of people do not, though. There's Hit and Run. I know that used to be an expensive thing for a while. And there we go. There's our first hit with the Art of War. I know that was a card that was very, very highly sought after. Art of War. But then if you match it with your other black one, then it's a mismatch. And let's go for the next stuff. And let's. And what sets are eligible even? I should have really researched this before I looked at it. I don't know. I guess that's what I'm going to title this video is I just think Flesh and Blood is just making the wrong moves. I get what they have to do. They have to do something. It wasn't working with the first edition Unlimited strategy. I mean, it's just dumb anyway. When they said Unlimited, that was just a dumb thing to say. When it wasn't Unlimited. It was Prince of Demand, like Pokemon and Wizards have for their stupid set. Why leave their dumb little cold foils in one and their shiny one? It just makes a pain in the ass too for people like me that then sort of like, is this the first edition? Oh, it's just, the box looks a little bit different. The pack's a little different. Oh, the little symbol on it looks a little bit different. It's such a mess. Such a mess. There's a meet and greet. That sees play, right? in the chain. I'm way off the camera. Can't even do this video correctly. I need to get my lighting fixed too. These aren't showing up the way I'd like them to. Some bracers. Bracers of belief. Hey, I need the Centauri Sabers. That's a good one. Good one for the sim. Does it show what set it was out of originally too? What did I say? 2021. This set was released in 2022. Those are different. Okay, so they started doing this a long time ago, huh? And then decided to release it. Cool. Do a couple more. And is this supposed to be more like a master set? Are these cards actually more playable? Again, I competitive scene, I know it goes in like some chain decks. I played Bolton. That's who I played forever. I know Glycon was pretty good in a couple of the strategies. Edge of Autumn. And another Irina's Prayer. All right, I think this is my last pack. I think this will fill up my, little display case here for people that want to buy history packs. But we did hit that Art of War. Not sure how many mythics are in each one. I'm way off the camera again. And a Forked Lightning, another M. So it seems like M's are pretty. This is already 3 per box. I think this is our 3rd or 4th one. We still have a lot of a box left. And Overpower. There you have it. That's kind of my initial impression of Flesh and Blood. I get asked questions quite a bit about what I think about Flesh and Blood. As kind of a player and as a store owner, so I hope you found this helpful and just not me ranting into the wind. Hope you enjoyed this video. Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.